I was posting a style swap video last month and a lot of you loved the haori my friend Mami wore in the beginning. And yes, that haori is gorgeous. But you can easily make that by yourself, and in this video I'm going to show you how. In case you are here for the first time, my name is Matsunaga and I'm a fully trained and certified kimono teacher and stylist. When you're on my Instagram, you know that from time to time I like to sew haori, lace haori for myself and my friends, and that haori is actually absolute same construction of the haori my friend Mami wore in our style swap video. So when you find the same fabric, you can actually make a haori like that by yourself. A few weeks ago, I found this gorgeous, glittery, snowy organza fabric that I knew is going to be the perfect haori for summer. And you might think, what? Snow? Summer? Aren't you supposed to dress according to the season? There is this one part of the kimono culture which makes you dress or introduce things into your wardrobe that makes the recent season a little less uncomfortable. So in summer you're supposed to wear a lot of cold colors and very coolish patterns like snow. And nowadays you even find penguins and ice bears on summer obi. In winter it's the other way around. You're supposed to wear bright colors to lighten up the dark season. This way of thinking for me is one of the fascinating things about kimono, and I love to dress that way. So this is going to be my summer haori. The construction of this haori combines elements of a chabaori with elements of a nagabaori, and also leaves out one of the most essential elements for kimono and actually a haori. Let me break that down for you. Chabaori is a haori that has sleeves that are totally attached to the so-called migoro, which are the main panels, probably bodice or what else we would call that, I don't know. I refer to it as migoro. And it doesn't have any machi. Machi are those side panels under your shoulders, and they're actually there to make a little more room for the obi on your back. Nagabaori is a haori that is just very long. Nagabaori were really in trend in the 1900s to the 1930s, and today they came back in fashion. So the haori we're going to make today combines the length of a nagabaori, and it will have the sleeves of a chabaori, and we will leave out the machi. Plus we're going to leave out the very essential center back seam. And all of that has a reason. First of all, we're leaving out the center back seam because sheer fabric looks better when you have less seams as you can. Plus your obi will be so better displayed under the sheer fabric without a border that would be the center back seam. We're taking the length of a nagabaori because it's in trend today, and I think it really looks a little nicer than a too short haori. And lastly, we are attaching the sleeves to the migoro because a lot of people today wear second-hand and antique kimono, and the size necessarily doesn't fit. Usually a haori should have the same measurements as a kimono when you wear it over it, so the sleeves of the kimono won't peek out of the haori sleeves, which is actually pretty hard when you have a lot of kimono with different sizes and a lot of haori with different sizes. And actually attaching the sleeves fully to the migoro solves that problem totally. So okay, that was lots of talking. Let's get into the construction. First you need a rectangle with the width of your yuki and the length you want plus sewing allowance. Mine is 200 cm long. This is the migoro that will be later folded into half to create a back panel and two front panels. From this you cut out 12 cm in the middle, 3.5 cm into the back panel. For the sleeves you cut out two long rectangles with a round curve at one corner and its opposite side. Width is half of your yuki and length is 92 cm plus sewing allowance. Cut out a 220 cm long and 15 cm wide strip for the collar. As organza, chiffon and other sheer fabrics tend to be super slippery and difficult to cut out straight, I decided to work with a pattern this time that I can pin onto the fabric and then cut it out. When you've already watched my How to Sew a Kimono the Easy Way video, you know that authentic Japanese practice doesn't use any patterns for kimono sewing. But in this case it helped me a lot and made the process so much faster. First I cut out the migoro. And I cut out a small slit to mark out the placement of the chi later. Chi are those loops you can put the haori himo in to tie up the haori after putting it on. They are placed 35 cm from the top of the haori. Then I cut out the sleeves. For the collar, I drew my measurements onto the fabric and cut. In the end, you should have 4 pieces looking like this. And I know making such a huge pattern can be pretty troublesome, that's why I digitized mine and put it on my Patreon page. If you haven't checked that out, I would be really pleased if you did, because Patreon is actually a way to support me to make more kimono content like this and to actually make this my job, so I can spend even more time and money on making these kinds of videos. So if you're interested in that and also want to have 2 live workshops every month, feel free to check that out. Okay, so let's get this stuff sewed together. I folded the sleeves in half and pinned the sides that I would sew together. As I did French seams, I pinned wrong side on wrong side first. On the side with the round corner, I marked 23 cm from the top with pins. This will be the openings of the sleeves, so I keep them open. After sewing, I trimmed off about 5 mm from the sewing allowance. Cut small slits into the curve . And turn the sleeve inside out. Then I cut off 1.5 cm from the sleeve openings and pinned the same edges again. This fabric, by the way, was a horror to iron when I did a test, so I decided to not press any seams and try to fold them into place as good as I could. This is not best practice, but best for this fabric. After sewing the last time, the sleeves are finished and are ready to be attached. To the migoro. I folded it in half and pinned the side seams wrong side on wrong side together and left open 46 cm from the top. I sewed the side seams in place and turned the migoro inside out so the sleeves can be attached. Then I align the migoro and sleeves like so and make sure that the wrong side is facing up. And then I turn the sleeves into the migoro so the horizontal and vertical seam will match on the inside. Then I pin the sleeves and Miguro together. And sew the sleeves on. And when you have sewed this on, you should have one straight line on the side. Here's where the sleeves ends, and this is just the wakisen of the Miguro. And now we're going to create a French seam all this way down. Of course, we have to sew this, and then we're going to sew this. So we're gonna do the sleeves first, and when we're done with the sleeves, we are going to sew this line down. And before we do that, of course, again, we have to trim off about 5 mm from the sewing allowance. Okay, now that this is trimmed, we are going to turn this inside out. I'm pinning it together, and then we are sewing it again. And believe me, this is way easier than the first seam here because the sleeves are already attached. Just make sure, a little tip, don't sew the Miguro onto the sleeve like this. First I sewed all around the sleeves again. After that I sewed the side seams of the Miguro. I created rolled hem at the bottom by folding 5 cm inside twice. And I top stitched this by machine. I have finished rolled hem on the bottom. I usually am not a fan of rolled hems. So currently I'm also looking for another way to finish this off, but stay tuned on my Instagram. If by where she'll be a little more artistic, and I'm probably not able to do this. And I have also pinned on the collar, which I usually want to do off camera because I hate doing it. Anyway, I have pinned right side on right side, and on the top here you can see the collar, and I usually always start in the center, so I pin the center of the collar onto the middle of my Miguro, where usually should be a center back seam. And you can see I have not put this edge on edge. I have a few millimeter up to a centimeter set the collar away from the edge of the Miguro, because this will then make it easier to smoothen out the curve to the shoulders, which should be like about 10 centimeters from the center. And when I sew this, I try not to have any wrinkles when sewing this, so try to get all this here behind your needle. So you don't want to have this under the needle, you don't want to sew this like this. It is awful to sew this on. I find it way easier to do this by hand, but this fabric requires me to do this by machine. So I pin center on center, and then I pin one side down and then again starting at the center and pin the other side down. And with this I went to my sewing machine and stitched on the collar. Make sure to sew a curve at the neck area and then back straight when sewing down the side. For the G, you cut out two 8 cm long and 1.5 cm wide strips of leftover fabric. Fold 2/3 inside and fold this again in half. Fold it into the shape of the very famous red ribbon and hold it in place with a pin. Pin the G onto the inside of your haori with the loop facing inside. I have cut slits for the placement of those into the migoro when cutting it. Sew it onto the migoro and collar with several back stitches. Then I basted a 1.5 cm seam allowance onto the other side of the collar. I folded the collar in half, the seam allowance inside, and pinned this onto the migoro. And I sewed this on with a blind stitch by hand. I also finished the sleeve opening, the so-called sorekuchi, with a blind stitch rolled hem. I took all of my courage together and pressed only collar and sleeves. When you make this haori out of a fabric, you can iron, press the whole haori after finishing all of your seams. And here she is in all her snowy glory. And yes, this haori is very cute, very shiny, very snowy, very cooling and refreshing, and I will wear the out of it this season. Anyway, by actually making this haori, the only thing I could think of was, oh my gosh, this fabric would look so costumey and so weird if I would make a skirt or a coat out of it. But as a haori, it's totally wearable for me. This is the magic of kimono. I think because the construction is so easy, you have to spice up things with pattern and color. If you're here for the first time and you've watched this video until now and you want to see more content of a professional kimono teacher, subscribe to my channel, like this video, and also share it. Thank you so much for watching, and I talk to you in my next video. Bye!